friends are like old memories. They always remind you of your past, and we are reminding ourselves of the past episodes from this week of Good Company for the best of Good Company with me, Hollie Taylor. This kind of feels like one of those things where it's, tell me your husband works in health and fitness without telling me your husband works in health and fitness. And so, yes, I have the wonderful luxury of saying, you know what, I feel a little tight here. What kind of exercises can I do to feel better? But it is important to make sure that we are doing mobility workouts, especially the older we get. They say that good mobility is increasingly recognized as an important part of our overall health and has incredible long-term effects. It can actually help reduce the rates of cancer, cardiovascular disease, dementia, and depression, which actually is good for people of all ages, just not those of us who seem to be aging faster because the days are just flying by. All right, text in 905-338-1250. Do you work on mobility workouts? Are you working out? How are you being active in your day-to-day? 905-338-1250. Jessica says that they play pickleball. Does that count? Yes. It's fun. You're being active. Just make sure you stretch, though. I mean, it can be hard. I know even shoveling or raking for a long period of time, I get very sore. So stretching is now just a part of what we do. Okay, we got one here from John. He says, once he had grandkids, he realized that if he wanted to keep up, he was going to have to start training. So he's training to be a grandpa and is excited for the day when his grandson is walking and he can chase him around. So yeah, grandparent training begins now. I love that. I'm Hollie Taylor. Some incredible work going into some interesting research coming out of MIT. They say they have been able to witness the exact moment human life switches on. Not minutes or hours later, but the very instant fertilization occurs. So science has discovered second zero, the figure that forms when a life is activated, which is wild to think of. Some people call it the God spark, and I think that this is wildly cool. What are your thoughts on this? It's just such a beautiful scientific discovery based on what God has told us already. They say what's even more fascinating about this split second is that it is structured very interestingly. The waves move in rhythmic order pattern rather than chaos, echoing mathematical forms found everywhere in nature, God's fingerprint. Anyway, they say the same proportions seen in spirals, shells, plant growth, even in galaxies appear to be reflected in the very beginning of human life. So, love this as a powerful reminder about the very moment that you came to be. It's Hollie Taylor and a very interesting story of Perez Hilton. And you might be thinking, why are you talking about Perez? Because back in the day, he was a very famous gossip columnist. And I think he's still pretty famous, sharing the different stories. But he's had a little change of heart, if you will. He says that he grew up in a Catholic family and recently has had quite the life-changing experience, both physically and spiritually. In fact, he had a near-death experience. He spent the past 21 some odd days in the hospital as he got extremely ill. And so he wanted to share his testimony, his journey. He says, God showed up. He said, I wasn't delirious. He was fully present and he showed up. I just think that's so amazing that God truly meets us where we are at. Here's Perez in a hospital room, not doing well, fighting for his life, and God showed up. Now he's vowing to make a life change, really professing just his love for God and the acceptance that he has felt during this process of healing physically and spiritually and emotionally in the hospital. It's sad it took a hospital near-death experience, but sometimes, unfortunately, That's what we need to shake us out of our everyday and allow us to see the world in a different perspective. So now he also wants to tackle getting 8 hours of sleep, which I should sign up for as well. And he wants to make the changes in the little things. And we'll talk about that tomorrow, I think. The changes, the baby steps, the ways that we can grow. It's not big leaps. It is little tiny steps along the way. So for him, he's committing to being at home, not being a workaholic anymore, and spending time with his family, eating dinners together. He's missed out on that with his kids. And this is something that he says, this is now happening. This is a priority. Family is important. Love this, love the testimony, and I just hope that his experience continues to grow and shape not just him, but those in his circle of influence. Let's take a look at your commute. In our house, we've got a little bit of a debate as to when is too ripe for a banana to eat. Because overripe bananas they're just gross. They're mushy. I don't love them. Yeah. So here is your guide as to when to eat a banana. If they're green, of course, they are underripe, but they're great probiotics in this phase, and they are highest resistant starch. So there's that. When they're barely ripe, so a little green, a little yellow, they're actually high in fiber and low in sugar. Perfectly yellow, they are ripe, they are a high antioxidant and fiber. Now, when they start to get those little brown speckles, this is when I know I'm probably not going to eat it because that's gross. I can't. It has to be perfectly ripe. That's when it has the lowest vitamin content. And when it's even more brown and the spots have grown and amalgamated into these massive brown things, that's when it's the highest in sugar content. It is overripe. It is the lowest in fiber and will give you a massive sugar boost. So if you're trying to cut sugar, an overripe banana is not what you should be eating. Throw it in the freezer, cook with it, make muffins. Don't eat it. Well, we had talked about this yesterday. Baby steps and how sometimes to make the big change, you have to make the little changes along the way and be consistent with it. The baby steps for the win. So that's what we want to talk about today. Some of those baby steps that you have made that have yielded some pretty big results. So text in 905-338-1250. Lots of personal trainers, I'm sure, would say starting small. Everybody wants to be working out for a minute and then immediately see the results. This is something that takes time. They say up to 3 months before you even start to see all the changes that are happening underneath your skin. Maybe you've noticed that little things, like you can walk a further distance without being out of breath, or you can go up the stairs and not feeling like you've just climbed a mountain. These things matter, so make sure you write them down, those little victories, those baby steps to encourage you when you are just thinking, why am I doing this? And you're discouraged. You can always go back and revisit those moments of success. So text in 905-338-1250 with the baby steps you're making. It's Hollie Taylor, and today we've been talking about making those baby step changes for big results. Just not right away. Over time, it takes a whole lot of patience and a whole lot of just sticking with it, being consistent. Tish Harris Warren says, the kind of spiritual life and disciplines needed to sustain the Christian life are quiet, repentive, and ordinary. I often want to skip the boring daily stuff to get to the thrill of an edgy faith, but it's in the dailiness of the Christian faith, the making of the bed, the doing the dishes, the praying for our enemies, the reading the Bible, the quiet, the small, that God's transformation takes root and grows. So hopefully her words give you a little extra encouragement if you are on a pathway where you're making those small, quiet changes and you're realizing that maybe something is taking root. Chances are it is. Stay consistent, give it time, and allow it to grow. Well, that's a wrap. Those are our favorite memories from this past week. Join me for more Good Company live every weekday from 4:30 till 6 p.m. here on Joy Radio. Oh, and don't forget, you can also catch up by subscribing to our Joy Radio podcast. If you'd like to join in on the conversation, text 905-338-1250. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on Monday.